Hello, everybody. Welcome. As you guys know, I am Rob Guthrie, the ET Whisperer. Welcome to the YouTube channel. We have John Craig here, a good friend, a man who knows a lot about the topic we're going to talk about and knows a lot about the things involved with what we wanted to share. Hello, Kalina. Hello. How are you? I know Kama's there watching too. Hello, Kama. How are you? I just did a live with Kama on Instagram, guys. You should go check it out. I'll put the IG link in the chat here in a minute. Welcome, guys. We want to talk about sex. We want to talk about sexuality. We want to talk about the energies behind sexuality, the traumas that it causes for humans, some of the ways through it. And this is all based from a course that Ardif had channeled recently that's going to be available for the public very soon. If any of you guys didn't hear about it, there's a 4-week course starting on November 1st, and it is Human Sexuality 101. The ancient Pleiadian friend Ardif channeled a lot of information on it, a lot of very powerful, big information on this topic, and we're going to chat about that, what we've learned, what we see, what we perceive. And I want to get your guys' feedback too. What do you guys think sexuality has the most resistance in for humans? Throw it down in the chat. We'll cover that. Hey, guys. Welcome. Hello, Powerful Preps. Hello, Tyler. Hello, Omni Collective. Hello, Octurian Draconian Starseed. Kalina, hello. Welcome, guys. Let us know. What's the biggest sexuality things in your own life with resistance? Things of that life. And maybe if not your life, if you don't want to talk about your personal stuff, talk about what you think the biggest resistances are in the collective with sexuality. John, you have helped bring about this course between my channeling and your amazing ability to throw everything together with an understanding of Ardif and his channeling in a way that can be presented beautifully. First of all, I guess, why do we have sexual resistance from your perspective, from what you've learned from Ardif, from anything that we can talk about? Because this is probably the biggest thing on earth, I think, as far as it comes to amount of people affected is sexuality.
Yeah, absolutely. And, hello, everyone. And this really was fascinating and amazing to be in on the ground floor. And I remember when we were speaking with Ardif, and Ardif could have channeled, information on a million different topics from a million different angles. And when we asked him, what do you think would be most useful for folks right now? This is the topic that he brought up, and specifically the relationship with sexuality that humanity has, and not only humanity, but, and he will talk about this in the course, but the human collective consciousness as well. And what has the most potential for actually changing people's lives and healing. And this was the topic for it. So, I think there's a lot of reasons, and he goes through which, everyone, I would really encourage you to participate in this course. It is absolutely phenomenal information. And, another thing Ardif said is a lot of this information has not been shared with humanity before, and that we're at a time now where it's really critical. He talked about, this bridge between third and fourth density. He said most races that are moving into fourth density do not have the resistance that we do with sexuality. They figured it out. So what's happening on this planet in our history is pretty unique. And there's a lot of reasons for why it's occurred, through epigenetics, through history, and our, the creation of this template, and, all the different hodgepodge of different races that we have in terms of our DNA and how that process occurred, and the history of our evolution, how that really, from what he shares, actually happened. And Ardif and his race, and Rob, you can talk about this, have been working with humanity for tens of thousands of years at different times and in different civilizations. So they're very familiar with the history of humanity and the process this has gone through, and they understand the subconscious and the unconscious, and how the fractalization works. And so we'll both get with this course, a really in-depth, like, you are ready for the truth, and we're going to give you the unadulterated truth about, what's actually going on here and why it is the way it is. And we're also going to hopefully try to alleviate some of this guilt and shame that you've been carrying, because one of the things that he says in this course as well is that sexuality by itself does not create resistance. He said it's not an energy or a co-creation when it's done with sovereign free will that creates resistance. So he talks about, where did this resistance come from? And we could talk about programming. We could talk about what we were hoping to experience through the human experience, and the kind of this uniqueness of how we were put together and how consciousness has been played out on this planet. Um, and as Kama mentioned earlier, most other races, at least in fourth density, speaking about sexuality is not. I mean, it's they would talk about it like they would talk about how weather works or how you digest food. There's no hangups about it, and there's a thousand different reasons why it's been fractured for us. And is the other thing he said, not to give away the course, I don't think I am, but that everyone is dealing with trauma from sexuality. They're dealing with it from the human collective consciousness level. Like, we are coming in with this, whether we've had something physically, energetically, emotionally happen to us in this incarnation, in this lifetime, it's in our template, and it can be healed.
And that's one way or another. And I do want to cover some of Ardif's history with people on Earth and how long he's been dealing with what cultures. But before I do that, I want to get some of your guys' answers here real quick. Omni Collective says sexuality is resisted in humans because we fear having our identities denied, rejected, not accepted, being outcast, alien, if you will. Absolutely correct. Um, Tyler, when I asked everybody earlier, for some of you who are just getting in, I asked everybody why humans have sexual resistance, whether it's a personal experience or what you perceive collectively, acknowledgement, acceptance, recognition of its innocence. Beautiful. Um, Kevin says, always wanted to know about sexuality. It's confusing, it's good, it's bad, can give us power, or does it weaken us? This is a really big problem in this community, in the world in general. People always say, what is good with sexuality? What's bad? If you masturbate, does that give your energy away? Does it make you a bad person? If you're having sexual intercourse with more than one people, are you a bad person? Does that give your energy away? All of these are really good points, guys. Thank you for sharing these. I'm going to do a couple more. Hello, Ermi. Hello, hello. Biggest challenge, allowing someone else to control your body. I always wonder how trans channelers do it. Trans channelers in the sexual, same principle. Absolutely. Control, huge part of ourselves, a huge part of our sexuality, a huge part of our masculine side and feminine, either in balance or out of balance. These things are definitely a huge point. Thank you for sharing that. Let me check. The sexuality seems natural, something our body is meant to do. I agree with that 1,000%. Thank you guys for sharing your perspective. So, a little bit of history with Ardif on his time with humans. I don't know which one was first. I would assume either India or actually, I think it was Egypt, the ancient Egyptian culture. Artists spent a great deal of time, multiple decades of time, each time he interacted with humans. One of them was at the ancient Egyptian area, about 20. Actually, you know what? It was India. I'm sorry, about 23 to 26,000 BC. Ardif's race, which was only a fifth density race at that point, or maybe they were just beginning their sixth, I can't remember, had actually come to Earth. And as a type one, you can't just come to a planet, you have to be invited. So at this point, enough humans on Earth wanted other beings to come down and help, were aware of their presence and said, hey, come, we need help. So Ardif's race came. They shared a lot of things to help these people, but also understood a lot of the energies with humans. And as much as Ardif and Treb understand about humans, Ardif has been physically engaging with them. Now, I know a high density being compared to our own physicality, there's a way it works. Consciousness divided within one being allows a projection into an avatar. So basically, if you think about it like this, you take a small piece of your consciousness, you create a projection of a physical body and put that little piece of your consciousness in there. That, just like our bodies are connected to our higher self, Ardif's physical body was connected to his whole self. And that's how he worked with physical humans. So he would do that about 26,000, 23,000 with India. I'm imagining around the same time, or maybe a little bit earlier, later, with ancient Egypt. He also worked in South America with the beings that were there before the Mayans. Also worked in uh, Eastern Asia and the China area, Mongolia, China, somewhere southwest of China, maybe. He worked with them about 12, 13,000 BC, and he worked even in a couple of the European places in the 6, 7,000 BC area too. So Ardif understands people, which means he understands sexuality, which means the information that he shared with the course was pretty in depth. And I've got a chance to hear it, obviously. John's had a chance to hear it. Only a few people have, and each person has said a lot. But the thing that I can say about it is that the information that I heard Ardif sharing, I've never heard him share before. Maybe one or two parts or a couple of basic understandings that bring those other things together. So that was something that was kind of amazing for me. I want to say hello too to everybody coming in. How are you? How are you? Welcome, welcome. Um, Now, John, oh, sorry. I accidentally showed. Sorry. Um, when you're listening to this, because you're aware of artist's work, you've listened to a ton of his material before. When you first heard this, what was the impression when it came to the amount of humans that have sexual resistance and the amount of energy that we actually put into creating that? What was your insight?
Yeah, it's profound. Um, and you know, as he said in this course, whether you're actively sexual, whether you have a partner, whether you don't have a partner, whether you're asexual or not, it's still an energy we all carry. And it is still an energy that has really been just riddled with guilt and resistance and not a lot of understanding of how it actually works, how it works with our energetic system, how it works with our consciousness, how it is an integral part. I mean, he talked about sexual organs being two of the only organs for male or female or um, that are connected to every part of the body, which is pretty fascinating as well. So if you think about any energy that has that big of that big of an impact on our energetic system, on our etheric, our astral body, our our nervous system, or endocrine system, everything that it impacts, um, it's a big deal. And not only what struck me is he took the gloves off right off the bat, and when he said, "I'm going to give you the truth about this," he didn't really leave a stone unturned. And I felt very respected by him talking that. And there were some things I kind of went, that's interesting. But really, he was just talking about the mechanics and the reality of it. There was no judgment. He said, this is what it's all about. Here's the energy, here's the dynamics. And what you choose to do with it is what you choose to do with it. But that no one is incarnated on this planet, basically what he said, hopefully there's some exceptions for people, have escaped this this deeply ingrained issue with trauma and carrying trauma through sexuality. Now I can tell you, and other work that I do quantum healing hypnosis, and I work with a lot of people who are, I mean, I work with a lot of different people, but people who would be identified as light workers or star seeds. And I will tell you that to a person, they came in to ancestral lines that have gigantically messed up issues with sexuality, with predatory energy. I mean, these are the thought forms. These are the very low frequency energies and, control stuff that you know, a lot of people came in to bust for good. And one of the ways that they do it, which RDF is equipping people to do with this, is to understand what the pattern is, to understand what the energy is, why it's been the way it is, and to go into that energy and as star seeds and from a higher consciousness, work with these energies, transmute these energies from a higher consciousness. And by doing that, it impacts the collective. One of the things Art have said is every race in the universe has some form of trauma, and we are all connected as one. So when the Denebians heal their trauma, it helps us. When humanity heals our trauma, it helps Pleiadians and Arcturians and Syrians, especially those groups because, or the Elohim, because they were part of our evolution and our story. So, you know, no one kind of has escaped this. And even if in their own personal life, they've been, you know, depending on their lessons, been fortunate enough not to have, you know, horrific physical sexual abuse or emotional sexual abuse or, you know, any violation of boundaries and sovereignty, we're swimming in it in our society. So yeah, it's a very big deal, and it's you know, from his perspective, and when he brings in the balance of the masculine and the feminine, how the masculine has kind of run roughshod on the planet for thousands of years, and this time is about the upsurge of the feminine, and one of the reasons the feminine's getting attacked right now a lot. It really it impacts everything.
Yeah, it does. And this is something too. A lot of these things that you just talked about, predatory nature of humans, the masculine energy when it's out of balance, being uh, in a lot of ways predatory in its nature. Um, the energy of the feminine trying to be the dominant energy within our energy collective to help bring balance. And it's not even that it's trying to be that way, it's natural to be that way. The natural form of earth is a balance. It's masculine energy in balance and feminine energy in balance. Without that, there's nothing that we can do to stop resistance in ourselves. And the interesting thing you said, and I had forgotten about this till you said it, is that the physical organs of our genitals that touch every part of our structure, energy, physical, and think about that. When we have something that actually touches every other part of our physical body and every part of our energy field system, um, it has a purpose more for than a lot of what humans use that for, which is either pleasure or to add resistance to yourself, depending on what's going on. But the topics that are really heavy are the ones that I found most insight in from artist perspective. Traumas of sexual abuse, incest, rape, all of these things are really extremely horrifying things, and they've caused tons of humans trauma on our planet and have caused a great deal of pain, mental pain, emotional pain, um, some even mental illness, like a breaking of the self. Um, it's really important that we dive into these things. Um, I obviously, guys, I'm going to be putting out a short promo video here, probably tomorrow or the day after, that gives a little more insight to the course and everything. So we're not going to talk about all the details of how to get it and stuff, but we'll make sure that the link is in the description. If you want to check out what this course does, what it talks about, what's within it. It's all there on that link. If you click it, it'll take you right to the place where you can literally dissect each part. We're going to do some channeling for 4 days. We've had pre recorded channeling that will be released. And then everyone gets an opportunity to ask questions about that between that week and the next week when the next audio comes. And then Ardif will come through on a live event or on a live exchange and answer some questions that you guys have asked about that first course. So it will be interactive, but it's also going to give opportunity for everybody to chat with each other about this. It's a hard place to be safe, to feel and talk about these things. Everyone knows when you come to my YouTube channel, 99% of the time you're safe to share how you feel without someone being a jerk. And, with Kalina being helping on the moderation when she can, it helps that. But for the most part, this is pretty safe. But in the course, it will be closed condition. It'll only be the people who are part of the course who are also going through either similar things or trying to learn about these things. So either way, it'll be a safe place for community there, which I think is important. I've worked hard, very hard, to make sure that the place that we share our channeling is a safe place. John has helped make that a possibility with this too, and he's really worked to create, because these things are hard to talk about privately with people you know and love, let alone with strangers. So it's really important part of that too, I think. Um, the thing that you talked about with me personally earlier, uh, that really was an important thing, are some of the techniques that he shares through this on the last part, where he really ties everything together and kind of brings um, ways to help transmute some of this energy. Have you had an opportunity to do any of those techniques yet?
Yeah, I have worked with them a little bit, and it is they're very powerful. And he does it in a way that, and I think that it's actually really allowing for the self healing, in the sense that these techniques are designed to be done as a co creation with your higher self and higher fractal consciousness. And I've actually never heard, I mean, I've heard of that before, like a connection, but there's usually bringing other guides in and some other stuff. And that's not really what he's doing. He's teaching us how we can personally, as sovereign souls, heal this stuff with the greater aspect of ourself.
And
And that
that's huge.
is really profound, really profound. And I think some of it is, what Treb said to you how many years ago, that, your higher self knows you better than any other being or any other entity in the universe. And so we often think about working with their higher self, or the higher fractal consciousness, or the I am, or the oversoul, whatever you want to, call those levels, as a way to get information and wisdom. But this is actually, I'm getting lit up right now energetically, my whole crown's open. But this is a way to access and work in concert with the larger aspect of yourself to energetically, holistically, on all levels, transmute and release this stuff. It's not just, what's for my highest good and next steps, or what's my resistance. This is energetically, on a soul level, on a fractal level, on an energetic level, multidimensionally, getting this shit out of our subconscious and conscious and our physical bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. And this part, see, a lot of people feel that in that way. They have the multidimensional experience. But the good thing too is, for those of you who don't tap in that way too, who are more logic based and mental based, he also does tell
Absolutely.
you that, hey, this is where to find it. This is how to find the stuff that you hide from yourself, which is really a big and important part of it too. Um, but also the experience of how to transmute it, and that's where the techniques that he shares comes in. Oh, I'm glad you had an opportunity to do it. I didn't step aside and do it multiple times, but I did them when I listened to them, and then I did them once or twice after. And for me, the energy was right on par with everything he's ever taught with techniques. Very powerful, but this was a different type of powerful, and it's because the sexuality. And I consider myself, yeah, for most parts, sexually balanced. I see myself as someone who doesn't have a lot of sexual hangups with myself, or a lot of sexual imbalances. But after hearing the perspectives on the things that do have balance and that don't, I found out, there's a lot of things I need to get working on in myself too, which is not always fun to hear, but it's important to hear.
Yeah, and the encouragement where he talks about this being a process, and that these are techniques we can come back to for as long as we need to, as these kind of the layers of these things come up. And I think the other reason why this touches us so deeply, one is because if you just look at the energetic, um, body computer, physical avatar template wiring, this energy is impacts our entire existence. There are a few things that are more personal than that. I would think, as a being, as an incarnated being, is our sexuality, how we choose to share it, our relationship with it, and when um, that through this trauma, through whatever the energy of that has brought about. Um, you know, the rape, the abuse. He talks about the different, aspects of that, and how it impacts people in different ways and the ways it does. But there are few things that kind of, as on a cellular soul level, impact our sense of self, our sense of security and safety as beings, um, and our relationship with our free will and sovereignty. It's really a big deal. I know I've said that before. And so these techniques and the way he's going about it are, such a gift for us. I think the other really cool thing, Rob, is that, this is, anybody who's probably listening to this is not kind of a revelation, but, the group energy aspect of this, Ardif talks about when we're working and doing this course, that his whole species, other species that work with us. And there is a lot of species that have issues with this. I mean, a lot of these, the Syrians, Arcturians, the Andromedans, the Pleiadians, Lyrans, the Elohim, all the Anunnaki, or the, whatever's left of that energy now. There's a lot of karma, and there's a lot of relationships. There's a lot of groups that are tied into us healing this trauma on a global, uh, human, earth, collective consciousness level, because a lot of these groups had an issue in creating some of this trauma for us. So but in the positive way, the whole group that's going to be taking this course together is going to be on the higher self level, the oversoul level, helping one another. And also this container, I can already feel it. It's already been created by Ardif, by, his race, by our guidance and higher selves, this incredible container of potentiality and support and love. Um, and really, that's honoring our courage, is what I get, for taking this on and having the courage to really sit with this energy and be real about it and feel this energy, to acknowledge this energy, and that this has happened and that it's a real thing and we're carrying it. So, I think it's another aspect of, people who are going to be participating in the course are doing this as a huge collective co-creation.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing I love about Ardif the most, this course or not, he trusts us with the maximum amount of information that the collective is ready for. And it feels like in this way, he kind of turned up that energy. Um, and I don't think there was really a possibility for some of that information to even come through. This is what I've talked with about dozens of channelers when I talked to them on my show and interviewed them. I'm like, why does channeling get progressively more complex as we go on? We look back at the very first years of you know channeling from like Abraham Hicks. It's very basic, but it's very comprehensive. Very good, very in depth, and then you go to the next level like Bashar, and then you keep going on. And Bashar's channeling has grown since I've started channeling. It's grown. Everyone who I know who channels grows, and I know part of that's a personal channeling experience. But I always ask why. Why does this continuously get progressively more insight? And that's because the Earth Collective is ready to receive that information. So this is like having Ardif choose the topic told me that Earth is ready for a lot of the
Absolutely.
energy and information. It's
Absolutely.
it's a big importance too. I want to also um, because we're going to release the trailer tomorrow, guys. So you'll be able to see a little bit more about the specifics of the course. But I also want to get your guys' questions. If any of you guys have any questions about me and John's experience, working with it or working with Ardif or working with the information on this or anything like that. So if you guys want to ask a question, that would be really great. And if you don't, we'll definitely drop that link tomorrow and get you guys who are interested an opportunity to kind of look at that at a deeper level. Um,
Hey,
and
Rob, can I ask you a quick question?
sure.
So this is a bit of a different format for you in the courses. I know when you teach live classes that people, you will do the channelings, people right off the bat will have time to integrate and ask for feedback. Um, I just think this, I know you're excited. We've talked about this, that people have the opportunity to actually real time be integrating and working with this energy in this healing container, and also have the opportunity to be interactive and be asking, things in that. And I'm excited about that, having that opportunity. And I've already heard the course, so I'm absolutely excited about what's also going to be being revealed and the work that's going to be happening throughout the course as well.
Yeah, because the 4 hours of channeling that's done, that's done now for a little over a week. Everything's been done and compiled and all of that, but the information that comes between is still unheard, and that's exciting for me. One of my favorite things because I channel this information, so it goes through me, so I understand it pretty quickly. I also integrate the understanding of it pretty quickly. Whether I apply it or not, it's a whole different story. It depends on what subject we're talking about. But when it comes down to the energy of the channeling itself, I get it. This taught me something new. Like I said earlier, it's exciting. I rarely get that opportunity, but I have a feeling like the Q and A's are also a part of that energy of me learning more stuff. And maybe it's because it's not talked about a lot in our community or general, or maybe it's because it's not talked about usefully in our community. A lot of people still use it as a tool for shame. Well, hey, this is happening and you're still thinking about sex or feeling sexual. That's bad. Or, hey, you should only be thinking about sex. That's the way to do it. Um, so there's not really a useful outlet in our community for the speaking of or for the hearing part. And with this, I feel like that is. And you're right, this container of energy has already been built and created. And those who feel drawn to it are already drawn to it and are going to connect with it. So everybody's already got that collective energy happening. But what you said too earlier really gave me a lot of insight. A lot of the races that you talked about being a part of the sexual co-creation, the Turians and Pleiadians, Syrians, and all of them. Uh, a reason why they are a lot of it is because those are the genetics that we hold too. And I remember Art going very deep into that topic about the types of genetics that we have in us and the energies behind some of that. And why that added to a part of the energy. And we all know that when all these different races came, there was a bit of a shuffling. There was like Anunnaki that first did it, and then another race came and said, "Well, I don't really like the Anunnaki, so I'll try to shift this." And another race said, "Well, no, I don't like any of this, so I'm going to try to shift it the other way." And we kept getting this tug of war played with our DNA, which wasn't very fair. It wasn't nice.
And
Even those who tried to help us, it wasn't good,
yeah,
nice.
and the consciousness, in a tug of war with our consciousness.
Yeah,
And he goes into depth about this. Is the information that he brings through is incredible. It's really, really incredible.
it is, and absolutely the whole pulling feeling is manifest in our sexuality. That's why uh, a lot of humans have different types of relationships. Some people are monogamous, some people aren't. Some people have multiple sex partners. Some are asexual, or um, even non-sexuality is a thing that's brought up, which I didn't even think that would exist. I knew asexuality was a thing, but so we have all of those different things. But even in ourselves, think about the sexual energy and how it's pulled you in your own life. I know for a fact, especially when I was younger, sexuality motivated me to behave or to act out or to um, really to excuse me guys, really to shift my whole behavior, my mindset, my emotional set. It is a powerful thing, and that pull, that tug of war, is really manifest inside us from all of that. I'm going to look through guys too to see if you have any questions about that, anything about that. Um, I'm curious about sexual types: aggressive but loving, gentle. Yeah, this is an important part too. And obviously not with going in detail. Pretty much one of the things that artist said that was very impactful to me is that sexuality isn't wrong or right as long as you're not taking away the free will of another. And as long as you're not harming yourself, by doing all these things that he talked about that adds resistances to you. If you're not hurting yourself by doing the resistance adding, and if you're not hurting others, there's really not a bad or good. It's a lot of how we perceive it. And the specifics of sexuality, um, are a bit different for every person. But, even the different types of DNA that we have in us, he talks about how different versions of that DNA affect sexuality of different people. Um, and I can't remember the specifics of what he talked about, but there are a lot of examples in that share the sexuality traits and aspects of the beings who exist there, and the ones that inside of ourselves activate when we go through. Because, like you said, playful, loving, gentle, rough, all of these different types of sexuality that you can manifest that with yourself or others are different traits of our own consciousness. And it's very interesting to see a lot of that too. Um,
The other thing, Rob, that I would add to that, again, without, and he does go through all of that stuff. I mean, the other thing that I would add to that is um, that Ardif was basically saying that it's really on us to define sexuality for ourselves, and not to be, and to do that really in concert with our higher selves and with our heart, with our own resonance and truth. Um, when we're being, because we have not really been encouraged to do that. And there is no guilt, there is no any of that stuff. The big universal law that he talks about, whether it's the different types of a reptilian sexuality versus Lyran sexuality versus Arcturian. And he talks about Arcturian sexuality, and that is phenomenal. The what he talks about, how they do. I mean, it's unbelievable what he talks about with that. So you can look forward to that, to some Arcturian romance stories with that. But
well,
um,
that's interesting though, because he focuses a lot on human sexuality, human experience, but he also dives pretty deep. And he doesn't touch it for a long period of time, but the time he touches it, he goes deep into the multidimensional sexuality, sexuality in different dimensions, um, sexuality through different races, like you said. And a lot of it's pretty crazy. It's stuff that we wouldn't think about because we're limited to the experience of feeling limited and experiencing our sexuality through the human body. So it's very in depth and very amazing stuff. Yeah.
so, Rob, I would also, this is not all just about healing trauma. I mean, the other thing he talks about is ways to use sexual energy, ways to channel sexual energy for raising of consciousness, for increasing energy, for communication, and for connection, for manifestation, and for pleasure. So he doesn't leave that stuff out as well. There's a lot of information about how we can, um, not only heal these things, but create an entirely new relationship with sexuality.
Absolutely. And I saw a question in here I do have to address real quickly. All right. Who is John? All right. John
Yeah.
was on the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with his partner, Kema. They both came on and talked about themselves personally. If you want to know their story and who they are, in a deeper sense, you can watch that episode. In short, John's a good friend of mine. He's also a QHHT practitioner, an energy worker, a healer, a big list of that. But what's relevant to this conversation specifically is John is the guy who helped me with this course. He's the guy who helped me bring this course to you guys in the most amazing way. Me and him have been working on this for a few months now.
And lifetimes are up. Let's be honest.
Yeah, yes, lifetimes beyond this, we've worked together, but in this specific course, uh, I would say a little over 2 months now. It's been about, give or take.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's been about that. So John knows more about this course than any human life. Besides, yeah, I would say even more than myself. He's listened to it more than I have, I'm sure, with all the energy put behind that and the editing process too. So John knows about this course heads and feet, head to toe. But if you want to know his personal story and his partner story, I suggest going out to that, and I'll link that below too in the comments too. Is there anything you want to say about who you are? Because I can't really tell everyone who you are more than that. What
Yeah,
I
no,
do. So.
that's great. Yeah, I mean, you covered it pretty well. Obviously, my spiritual path and working with galactics and contact and everything under the sun started pretty early, and that's been a really central part of my life and kind of my journey and my mission. Um, when we started working together, I've always had a lot of respect for Rob, and especially the way his approach to channeling and the information that was coming through, and it was really my excitement and delight to see if there were some ways that we could work together to create some cool stuff and get some more of this incredible wisdom and truth and energy out into the world. So yeah, and my journey's been a little bit different. I mean, I would consider myself a channel, but not necessarily in the same form. But I know I'm channeling all the time, and I'm very connected to a number of galactic species, and yeah, so it's quite a ride.
Yeah, the Oracle deck that you guys did was a channeling itself, and that was amazing. We
Yeah,
talk
light
about that in the
language.
show
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll set the link for that down there too. It's one of the most beautiful Oracle decks you guys can find. But if you want to look, we actually have pictures of it on the show too. Um, Also, yeah, with John, guys, John has been the reason why the website looks pretty and all the graphics on the videos look pretty in the poster. He's been helping me with everything for more than a couple months. The course has been the last couple months, but he's been helping me for several months with a lot of great things. His excitement to help more people have access to the channeling is what drove him to reach out to me, and I knew instantly that we knew each other more than just this time around. So did he. It was a recognition. So, yeah, and like I said this when I was talking to Kame on the live we just did before this one on Instagram, and I don't feel comfortable selling things. I know in my heart of hearts, people will always get whoever's meant to have something will have it, whether it's a private session, whether it's a event that we do, whatever it is. So there's always that part of me that's like, I'm not trying to oversell, or in general. Sometimes I don't. I put a poster or two up on the corners of the internet and just say, well, someone will reach it. But this course is the first course we've done, which is important to me. The mode of operation for my channeling, I've wanted for many years to shift over to being able to do comprehensive material, organized material, topics that are extremely in depth. Coursework is the way to do that. And next year, I plan to move into doing many more courses and traveling events, in person events, some online events possibly. But I really want to focus the channeling on helping the most people with the limited time that we have. And all of you guys know our circumstances personally, Kalina and mine, with the kids and the issues that they've had within their own lives. And with that comes a very limited time. So I want every minute I channel to be worth the most help to most people. This is one of the ways to do it. Hopefully, just coming on here and talking to you guys has been helpful, answering some of your questions, coming back with some feedback from what you guys are sharing. I want to thank all of you guys too who are here for being here and sharing your perspectives and thoughts. I want to thank you too, John, for coming tonight, brother, and doing this. But for being a part of the whole thing, for really helping bring this to a place um, that's really focused and really good and clean and beautiful and insightful, and the respect of the channeling that you've had for it really shows how much love and dedication you put into it. So thank you too, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a joy.
Well, I'm grateful for that too. All right, guys, we're going to let you guys be for the night. We're going to chat with you guys soon. I'll be here Wednesday for the radio show. All of you guys can jump on that. It's 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific. Tomorrow or the day after, we'll show you guys the short 3 to 5 minute intro on the course that you guys can check out if you want. If you don't want to check out the course, we'll be dropping more videos as we go along. Lots of different cool stuff that we've got going on. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the live stream. For all of you who are here live, all of you who watch later, thank you for doing that. We have an email list where everyone's been getting discounts on a lot of stuff that we're doing. We also have the Instagram channel, which if you're on Instagram, it's really amazing. It's grown a lot lately. Go check out Kama too. I'll drop her link in the bottom. Check out John and Kama and their work in the deck. I'll put that in the link. Yeah, and check out their show because they both have a very, very interesting story. And it might help you guys make more sense too of who John is and who Kama is. I think it's a really good one. So I'll drop that link to you guys. Love you guys. Thank you for being here. Yeah, so we'll see you Wednesday if you show up for the show. And if you don't, we'll see you sometime else here in the next, whenever we connect again. I love you guys, and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks again for being here, guys. Bye.